to 90 Day Leader. So glad that you're here. Before we dive into the concepts and content for week number 1 and guide you through what it looks like to build a healthy, cohesive team as kind of this first foundational principle we're going to lay for these 12 weeks, I want to take just a second and talk about kind of the why behind 90 Day Leader, how to get the most out of this 12-week experience, and the philosophy we're carrying into each one of these weeks that I want to encourage you to adopt. That'll help you get the most out of your experience of 90 Day Leader. So the way most of us are brought into leadership is pretty wild. We go from being a really effective marketer or maybe developer or person in finance, whatever it is, and we're good enough at that job where we're contributing inside of an organization and there's a gap usually inside of that team or organization where someone needs to step in leadership. So they just kind of tap on our shoulder and say, hey, it's time for you to be a leader now. The problem with that is the skill set for being an effective contributor for a team or organization is totally different from the skill set of being an effective leader. Let's take a second and walk through what I mean. Being a good contributor inside of an organization usually requires things like being good at a specific job or skill, where we can deliver on the specific facets of our job description, mostly with tasks or functions that someone delegates to us. We have to be able to be efficient with those sorts of tasks. We have to be trustworthy, where we'll deliver things on time, where we'll ask questions when we need them, that will be effective in taking a responsibility or a task that someone gives us and actually seeing it through to completion. And then ultimately, to be a good contributor, we usually have to be a good team player. And that's things like being humble and hungry and smart and being able to communicate well with others. But that's in a way that just allows us and our peers to be able to contribute effectively. The problem is that those skills are invaluable skills. All of us need the ability to be an effective contributor inside of our team and organization, but those are not skills that necessarily translate to being a good leader. So we need all of these skills still. We still have to be able to do our jobs as leaders. But in addition to doing those jobs, we have to be able to do things like motivate other people to be able to be effective, to understand not just the tasks they're supposed to accomplish, but the why behind the task. We have to be able to take input from people on our team that are around us and make good decisions so that ultimately the things that our teams are implementing or executing on are the best decisions that we could possibly make so that they can achieve the highest results. And then we have to be able to do things like not just understand goals and objectives and tasks so we can accomplish them, but clarify them enough so that multiple people can take that goal or objective or task, break it down to the functions they need to be able to execute, and actually collaborate and deliver those things together so that a bigger project than any of us individually could accomplish can be done collectively. And to make it even harder, we need all of those skill sets at once. It's not something like we can figure out how to motivate people 10 years from now, or we can figure out how to clarify goals or objectives or tasks 2.5 years from now. Day one, when we take on leadership, we have to be good and effective at those things because they're dependent skills and tools that the people around us that are looking to us need us to have in order for them to do their job effectively and for us to be doing our job as leaders effectively. And the way we go about learning and developing those skills and tools is not good enough right now. So most of us can get budget to go to like a 2-day conference that's not necessarily new leader specific or doesn't necessarily have keynotes or workshops that are tailored to the specific needs that we have with our company. So we go to this 2-day workshop and it's fire hydrant to the face. We experience all this content from top tier keynote speakers, all of it valuable. Maybe we walk away feeling inspired to be a good leader. Maybe we walk away with one skill set or two, but ultimately we're still practicing and developing all of those tools and skill sets in real time with the teams that we lead, with results happening for the people that are actually looking to us and the companies that are trusting us. Or we can go to the 57,000 books on Amazon, literally 57,000 books that have leadership in the title. And this is what most of us do. We pull one book off the shelf at a time. We take the time we can, whether it's during work hours or outside of it, to try to find a tool or a principle that we can latch onto. And then we take that and try to utilize it inside of our teams the next day. So that could be things like, how the heck do we lead meetings? Most of us go from hating meetings to now when we're leaders, all of a sudden we have to lead those meetings. So you could pull a book on a shelf like, how do you do a weekly sync or a daily huddle effectively? Or how do you lead an offsite? Or how do you lead a topical conversation that's maybe ad hoc or strategic? And you try to figure out one of those things. Then the next time that meeting rolls around, you're like, okay, let's try this one tool out, or let's try this one tactic or technique out. You're trying those in real time, and it's a multi-year process to develop even the basic tools and skill sets we need to be effective as leaders. The last thing that we can look to is there's so much content out there, so many good resources. There's libraries of these resources. So instead of maybe consuming a book or a podcast, we go and try to find a video or try to find a framework from somebody, and we're just pulling these out one at a time. And again, we're taking that content and personalizing it and trying to process it in real time, leading people that are around us to figure out how to actually utilize that tool or skill set. So what we're doing with 90 Day Leader is not recreating or redefining what leadership is. We're taking the best tools, concepts, maybe those 1 or 2 pages out of these books, or the main core concept out of this video or a keynote from somebody, curating those ideas and those concepts so that we can deliver them in a way across 12 weeks that you can take them and understand them in about a 15 or 17-minute video like this one. And then you're going to get a personalization guide for every single week that allows you to take that concept and personalize it both to your leadership style, to your lived experience, but also to the team that you're leading right now. And then actually have what really is the heartbeat and the lifeblood of 90 Day Leader is our weekly cohorts where you can show up, ask any questions that you have around that concept, both understanding it, deepening your understanding of it, but also how to apply it. Hear questions from peers that are in the same position as you, so that can spark insights or questions that you might have. And then actually practice utilizing that one tool week after week so that you can put that tool in your tool belt and not just understand it, but have actually used it. So the next time you pull it out at work, whether it's having a hard, crucial conversation, holding someone accountable, whether it's leading a meeting type effectively, whether it's clarifying a goal or objective or task, knowing that everyone's wired different and hears things different, so you can communicate those things in a way that people can actually hold on to and go and accomplish right after. Whatever tool or skill set it is across these 12 weeks, the cohort is your chance, your opportunity to be able to personalize that, process it, so that you can actually have that tool in your tool belt and know how to use it. And ultimately, what we're striving for with the 90 Day Leader is not that you know more about leadership or that it's about ideas about leadership, but that after 12 weeks, you're actually a better leader than you were, a significantly better leader than you were on day one. So let's take just a second and talk about this idea of leadership, what good leadership looks like versus what bad leadership looks like. With the 90 Day Leader, we do have a few philosophy points that have guided how we've pulled, which concepts and frameworks we've pulled, how we've curated those, and how we're delivering those. Those philosophies and frameworks are, first, that your growth as a leader is your growth as a human. And that second, like all good growth, it requires both courage and humility. And third, that saying yes to this invitation to good leadership is one of the greatest opportunities you'll have to actually expand your sense of joy and fulfillment, not only at work, but also outside of it. So here's how we're going to define leadership, good leadership, across these 90 days. With a 90 Day Leader, we say that good leadership is simply helping others discover and reach their unique potential. I actually really like how Jack Welch puts it. He says, before you're a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others. So as we start this 90 Day Leader journey, I have 3 asks of you, ways that you can approach these 12 weeks to get the most of your experience. The first thing I want to ask you is, number 1, set your bar at thriving, not surviving. I want to encourage you not just to get through understanding the concept or curriculum, not just getting through these cohorts, but actually setting your bar at leveraging these weeks to discover how you can grow into a fuller version of yourself and actually experience more joy and fulfillment with your leadership. Second, that you would be yourself. We're not trying to change who you are. We're not trying to ask you to take on an archetype of a person that you're not. So be yourself, but allow your vision of yourself to expand and grow. Approach these concepts and these cohorts with humility so that you can actually notice gaps inside of your leadership and start to imagine and wonder who you can become across these 12 weeks. Start to imagine and wonder, not that you become someone different, but what does it look like for you to be the fullest version of yourself, where you're reaching your unique potential and then actually being a catalyst for others reaching their unique potential around you. And third, I want to ask you to be vulnerable with yourself and with others. Don't come into the content or the cohorts trying to prove that you're already an effective leader. Don't come into these concepts or ideas looking for the things that you already know or understand. But I would encourage you to actually be vulnerable with yourself and vulnerable with others so that you can leverage these 12 weeks to notice gaps inside of your leadership. All of us have gaps in our leadership. We're never done growing as humans. We're never done growing as leaders. And you can leverage this time to be able, through vulnerability and humility, to be able to grow and expand into your unique potential. All right, let's get week 1 started with what we're convinced is the most foundational and critical component to being a good leader. That's building a healthy and cohesive team.